Bolshevik and the provisional government. The Bolshevik and the provisional government, where the April thesis enabled the Bolsheviks to have support of army, and the masses section of the Russia. So occupied the Russian parliament and established the Bolshevik dictatorship. In Russia. Bolshevik dictatorship in Russia. That marks the Russian Revolution. Okay. The impact of the Russian Revolution. The impact of the Russian Revolution. For the first time, the Marxian socialism became state establishment. That means the first socialist state in the history. Then it led to fear of communism across the. When the Bolshevik came, they abolished the private property of land. They abolished the estate ownership of the lords and ownership of the peasants. Land not given to the people. It was state appropriation of the people, lands, in the form of cooperative farming. Okay, that led to fear across the Europe. If the communist comes, there fear among the lords, feudals, fear among the princes, fear among the church. When the communists came, Bolsheviks came, they abolished all the property of the church. And the rights of the religion. They hated religion. So Pope and all the bishops got feared. So they supported Hitler and Mussolini due to fear of communism. Due to the many factors. Due to the fear of communism. That is the Russian Revolution. That is the political event of importance. Then an economic events. Economic event of importance. That was the Great Depression of 1929. Great Depression of the 1929. Reason for the Great Depression. What is depression? Depression is fall in the economic business cycle without collapse of the business cycle, without avenues of recovery. What is the reason for the Great Depression? The reason for the Great Depression was the collapse of reparation cycle. The collapse of the reparation cycle. Reparation means war compensation. In Treaty of Paris, Germany was forced to pay the war compensation. Germany lost everything. How could Germany pay compensation of 50 billion? That became a question. And Allied also lost most of the things. How could Allied can repay debt to US, war debt to the US? So everybody assembled to find a solution. For that, a plan was established called as Davis-Young Plan. A plan was established A plan was established. A plan was established as the Davis-Young plan. A Davis-Young plan in a triangular flow. A Davis-Young plan as the as a Davis-Young plan that US triangle, 3 points, UK allied, UK and France, then US, Germany. Okay. Allied UK and the Germany as the Davis-Young plan, in which the US shall provide loans to US should provide loans to Germany. Germany to reconstruct our economy. Then pay reparation to Allied. Pay reparation to Allied. Then Allied in turn pay war debt to US. War loans to US, repay. Okay. That is the system. That is the system that was. That is the system. That is the system of the reparation cycle. The system of the reparation cycle. A system of the reparation cycle established as the Davis-Young plan. A system of reparation cycle established as the Davis-Young plan. A Davis-Young plan in which the US shall provide loans to Germany, and Germany shall repay reparations, the US can provide the loan to Germany, and the Germany has to reparation. Germany has to repay the reparation to the Allied. Reparation to the Allied. And the Allied shall repay the Allied the reparation cycle, integrating Germany, Allied, and US. That is the reparation that was drawn in the board as the reparation cycle never became the real cycle. Germany tried hard to rebuild, never became, because of various reasons. Because of the various reasons, Davis-Young plan. Because of the various reasons, it would lead to the collapse. It led to the collapse of the reparation cycle. The collapse of the reparation cycle resulted in financial crisis. A financial crisis in the form of depletion of bankruptcy, fall of stocks, Wall Street crash. When the stocks fallen, it can be resolved. How share market problems resolved? Share market crisis resolved. because share market functions with investor sentiments. It can be resolved with a trust among the investors. But here it was mistrust, that is crisis of confidence, between the nation states, crisis of confidence. Nothing happened there. A congress held in Austria to resolve, but no nation have confidence on others. No nation trusted the other nation, called as crisis of confidence, that made financial economy to impact of financial crisis into real economic crisis, called as Great Depression. Impact of the financial crisis into real economic crisis that led to the Great Depression. The effect of Great Depression. What is the effect of Great Depression? The effect of Great Depression, that means financial crisis led to economic crisis. Economic crisis. That is the effect of the Great Depression. That is the fall, collapse of the economy. The collapse of the economy, which led to economic crisis due to collapse of investment cycle, collapse of the investment cycle, collapse of the investment cycle that led to fall of investment cycle. Means investments leads to production, production leads to income, income leads to savings, and savings leads to reinvestment. Economy expands. Economy expands. When investments fallen means it leads to problem of, when production fallen means employment fallen. It leads to the problem of job crisis, the unemployment crisis, then supply crisis, unemployment crisis, the food crisis, supply crisis. It led to the condition of stagflation. What is stagflation? What is stagflation? What is stagflation? There is no growth, no economy is stagnated, and inflation. And inflation, a condition of stagnation in growth and inflation. No job, no production. No job only, no production. So no income, no purchase. It led to the new condition. Inventories are stagnated. That led to poverty in the midst of plenty. Poverty in the midst of plenty. In the midst of goods, the stagnated goods, but no income to purchase. Poverty in the midst of plenty. Then it led to crisis. Crisis in the availability, crisis in the livelihood. That means crisis in morals. Crisis in morals. Crisis in the moralities. From the individual to the society to the nation. Morality, where people accepted Hitler to kill Jews. People accepted Stalin to exterminate villages. Villages itself disappeared of the communist dictatorship, Nazi dictatorship, loss of moralities, Parmiga Nerigal, crisis of the moralities. That made a greater impact. What is the impact across the world? That is the impact on India. Impact on India. Impact on Europe. Impact on India. Impact on India. The impact on India, the impact of Great Depression on India. What is the impact on India? The impact of Great Depression on India led to fall in exports. Drain collapsed for the first time. The drain collapsed for the first time. Second, fall in the income of peasants. Fall in the income of peasants and fall in the wages of labor. Fall in the wages of labor that led to a condition of radicalization, a radicalized condition, a radicalized condition in India, tapped by Gandhi in the form of civil disobedience movement, in the form of the civil disobedience movement, addressed by the leaders as the Karachi Resolution for the masses. Karachi Resolution deal with the Congress resolution addressed by the leaders as the Lahore Resolution. Lahore Resolution deals with Purna Swaraj. Karachi Resolution deals with Karachi Resolution of 1931. Lahore Resolution of 1929. Karachi Resolution of 1921 deals with socialist economy as a goal of the Congress, fundamental rights and the directive principles as the goal of the Congress. Then Faizpur Resolution of 1937. Faizpur Resolution of 1937 deals with the land reforms as the goal of Congress. The impact of the Great Depression. Highlighted one important thing. The effect of the Great Depression across all the nations except the Soviet Russia. Because Soviet Russia functions with the principle of planned economy. And the socialist economy, which highlighted one important thing. That means importance of government control. Impact of the Great Depression highlighted collapse of the classical economy. Classical economy based on the belief of invisible hand. Adam Smith, market could not be disturbed. Market, any prices occurred, market can solve, but collapse. And it proved the importance of government hand. The government hand and the government factor. Government act, importance of the government and importance of the government factor, called as factor G. That led to new economy with a new equation that national income Y is equal to investment plus consumption plus government plus foreign income foreign income of export minus import. Export minus import, called as, this equation was called as Keynesian equation by Maynard Keynes. By Maynard Keynes. By Maynard Keynes. Maynard Keynes stated it is the role of factor G is important in economy. The role of government is important in economy. So it proved the recovery policy, the recovery policies of the government, with the role of government interventions, even in the capitalist economy. The role of government interventions, even in the capitalist economy, could be acknowledged with the New Deal of President Roosevelt. President Franklin Roosevelt of America. Franklin Roosevelt of the America. The Franklin Roosevelt of America came out with a New Deal. A New Deal with the policy of public investments with the policy of public investments to provide gathering effect for the private. Then second, public trust, in which the government as the agency of the trust, in the form of in ensuring banking sector in the form of recapitalization and assurance in the insurance sector, banking sectors, insurance, and the corporate savings sectors. Then third, that is investments in critical infrastructure to promote employment. New Deal. A capitalist state acting as a socialist. So these things led to a new paradigms in the economy, the rise of mixed economies. The mixed economies means the concerns of the mixed economy is coexistence of public sector and the private sector. Coexistence of the public sector and the private sector. France was the first mixed economy. And India was much influenced by this. So immediately, Indian National Congress established National Planning Committee under Nehru and Subhash Bose, adopted the future economy of India as the planned economy, as the planned economic future and the future economy of India as the mixed economy later passed in Avadi Congress, resolution. Okay, this occurred in the interwar period. interwar period. Then interwar period, these conditions of Great Depression given way to the rise of totalitarian state. Totalitarian states. Totalitarian states were Nazism, Nazism and fascism. Nazism and the fascism. Nazism in Germany, fascism in Italy. Nazism in Germany and fascism in Italy. Both are twin sisters again. Both are the twin sisters. What are the reasons? What are the reasons for why it is called as totalitarian state? What is totalitarian state? A state, totalitarian state is a state of elite minorities. Elite minorities rule the nation with the threat of force and might. Threat of force on the might. Threat of force on the might. What are the futures of the totalitarian state? What are the futures of the totalitarian states? Totalitarian states have the futures of revisionism in the politics. Revisionism in the politics. Then the futures of the economic recovery. That means the futures of deficit financing in the economy. Deficit financing in the economy. Then futures of extraterritorial foreign policy. Extraterritorial foreign policy. Extraterritorial foreign policy. Extraterritorial foreign policy. Then it was the futures of extermination of opposition. Extermination of opposition. Then it has the futures of legislation. It has the futures of law. The futures of law by decrees. Law by decrees, not by legislation. Not by legislations. Not by the legislations. Why? What are the reasons for the rise of totalitarian states? The reason for the rise of totalitarian state was, the major reason was the passion for revisions, the passion for the revision of treaties, revision of the treaties. Then second, economic malaise of Great Depression. Economic malaise of the Great Depression. Economic malaise of the Great Depression. Great Depression led to certain conditions, economic crisis of jobs, economic crisis of food necessities, that was resolved. Then another reason was the fear of communism in Central Europe. Fear of communism in the Central Europe resulted in Nazism and the fascism. Nazism by Hitler in Germany and fascism by the Mussolini in Italy. But there is a difference. One difference between Hitler and the Mussolini. One is the Nazism of Germany. Nazism of the Germany has the futures of Nazism, the distinctive features of Nazism. One is the policy of revisionism. The policy of revisionism led to crisis, territorial crisis, as the Rhineland crisis, Rhineland crisis, that is reoccupation of Rhineland. Then it led to questions. It led to the questions called as minority questions. Minority questions. The questions of German minority in Poland, German minority in the Czechoslovakia, German minority in Tyrol led to German occupation. That resulted in Polish crisis, Czech crisis, Austrian crisis, minority questions. Then second, it led to economy of military complexes, economy of militaristic in the construction of military complexes, military mission and military man, national conscription. And the national conscription, a militaristic centered economy of gun and butters. It is called as economy of gun and butter. Economy of gun and butter. Then it led to laws by referendums, not by legislations, laws by the referendums. Then third, and the most important one that was called as anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism, which means persecution of Jews. Then ghettoization of Jews. That means Jews were forced to live in a segregated enclaves called as ghettos. Persecution of Jews, ghettoization of the Jews, and mass execution of Jews called as Holocaust. The mass execution of Jews. The mass execution of the Jews. Then it resulted in foreign policy. The foreign policy of extraterritorial invasion, extraterritorial conquest, extraterritorial occupation in the form of occupation of Studenten land called as Czech crisis, which resulted in Czech crisis. Then occupation of Austria, that is Austrian crisis. Occupation of Czechos, then reoccupation of Rhineland crisis. Reoccupation of Tyrol, Rhineland crisis, and the occupation. At last, the occupation of Tyrol, then occupation of Poland. Occupation of Poland along with the Soviet Union. Followed with partition of Poland. Partition of Poland became a dispute. Partition of Poland and the first Holocaust that ignited Second World War. That ignited the Second World War. So, result of the totalitarian state is Second World War. Totalitarian state is the result of totalitarian state is Second World War. What is the historical significance of this totalitarian regime? Historical significance of the totalitarian regime was of the historical significance of the totalitarian regime was UN Convention of Human Rights and Rights Against Racism. UN Convention of Human Rights and Rights Against Racism in the form of Nuremberg trial. After the Second World War. So we came up to the Second World War. Okay. That is 18th century important events. Then 19th century important events. Then the 20th century. Today we discussed the 20th century philosophies, First and the Second World War, then the interwar events, that is Russian Revolution, Great Depression, then the totalitarianism, Nazism. இதோட நிறுத்திக்கலாம். இன்னும் மிச்சம் வந்து கோல்டு வார். என்னைக்காவது ஒரு கிளாஸ்ல இருக்கும்போது ஞாபகப்படுத்துவேன், கிளாஸ் மிச்சமாகும்ல, அப்போ ஞாபகப்படுத்த முடிச்சிடலாம். இருந்தா நாளைக்கு ஒரு டெஸ்ட் எடுக்கணும். ஓகேவா? போதும், இது போதும். வேர்ல்டு ஹிஸ்ட்ரி 50 மார்க்ஸ் உள்ளதான், 20 மார்க்ஸ்லேருந்து 40 மார்க்ஸ் உள்ளதான். வந்ததுன்னா எழுதுவாங்க. ஓகே, கொண்டு போட்டாங்க. ஓகே, போதும். வேர்ல்டு ஹிஸ்ட்ரி முடிச்சாச்சு. அந்த கோல்டு வார் வந்து எனக்கு மேற்கொண்டு கிளாஸ்ல ஏதாவது மிச்சம் இருக்கும்போது ஒரு 1/2 hour முன்ன முடிக்கும் போது ஞாபகப்படுத்துங்க, பண்ணி. இந்த மெத்தடு கரெக்டாக இருக்குல்ல? இந்த பவர் பாயிண்ட் இதில்